What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about why Americans should move to Canada. That's right, we're coming. Whether you like it or not, we're coming. Well, maybe. I guess based on the information in this video, maybe. But joking aside, I do think that a lot of Americans view Canada in many ways as just a better version of America. So today, I want to learn if that's true. So this is 7 reasons why Americans should move to Canada. Let's take a look.
So I came across these statistics recently about top 10 source countries of new immigrants in Canada last year. And I was surprised to see the US in this list. Looking at the immigration...
Whoa, what? Hold on, this is really interesting. I don't know anything about this. This is fascinating. So this is immigrants to Canada, where people are from who are immigrating into Canada. The United States is on this list. I'm not shocked that it's on the list, but it's number 6. There's 250,000 Americans that immigrated to Canada in 2016 and 2021. That is a lot of Americans. Like, I figured Americans do actually move to Canada. A lot of Americans threaten to move to Canada when stuff is going bad here in America. But hundreds of thousands of Americans actually do it. Like, number 6 on the list of immigrants to Canada, India, Philippines, China, UK, then the United States. I never knew that we were so high up on the list, actually.
In this list. Looking at the immigration statistics, almost 2 million people come to Canada as new permanent residents. Turns out that a good 3% of them are from the US.
Wow.
This interesting surprise inspired me to look deeper into the subject, do some research online, and talk to some American friends about it. So in this video, I will share top 7 reasons why Americans choose to make Canada their new home.
Okay. This is really interesting. And she actually did research and asked Americans that have moved to Canada, like, why did you go? What are some of the best things about living in Canada? This is fascinating, actually. Political views. Oh, God. Oh, perfect. Exactly where I wanted this video to go. But this actually will probably be really interesting. So Americans move to Canada because of political views, probably because of who's the president, who's in office, and the policies that are happening in America. Sometimes it just makes you want to move out of the country. Literally, actually. Wow.
This is by far number 1 reason, because there is a direct correlation between the number of Americans moving to Canada and some of the recent election results in the US.
No kidding. This is the number 1 reason. I figured this was a reason, but this is the number 1 why most Americans move out of the United States is literally because of our politics. Wow. I just didn't think that would be the number 1 reason, but I guess it makes sense if you feel passionately about it enough.
During the 4 years of Trump's presidency, more than 37,000 Americans became new permanent residents of Canada. This is an average of about 771 people every month, as per RRCC.
That's okay. It's a lot of people, but it's not. 771 a month out of 300 million plus Americans. This is a very, very small percentage of our population, but it's not nothing. 37,000 people over 4 years. That's a lot of US citizens that are just forget this. I'm done. I'm out. Canada, my savior.
In the first 16 months since Biden's victory through to summer 2022, 16,000 Americans became new permanent residents of Canada. This is an average of 1,024 people per month.
Whoa, wait a minute. So they're pretty similar. It's actually been a little bit more people under Biden, which I'm actually a little surprised about. I think people get a lot more passionate and emotional in their decision making and opinions with Trump. So that's interesting that more people per month, not total, but per month under Biden. So really, it just goes both ways, really.
That's an increase of almost 30% of more Americans immigrating to Canada on a monthly basis during the Biden administration, compared to the outflow every month during Trump's time in the White House.
Wow.
Counterintuitive, isn't it?
I'm a little surprised at that. I'm actually a bit surprised.
Or is it not? Let me know in the comments below if you're Team Trump or Team Biden.
No, okay. We don't have to get into all that unless you feel like it. Oh my God, this is turning into the most divisive political debates. Not exactly what this video was supposed to be, but that's okay. It's important to the topic of why Americans move to Canada because of politics. It's like the #1 reason. So it is important. Interesting that, again, interesting. That is the opposite of what I would have thought. I would have thought more Americans would immigrate to Canada during Trump's administration, just because people seem to feel a lot more passionately one way or another towards him. I think, in general, I think that's fair to say.
Anyhow, results of elections oftentimes serve as a tipping point for many people who were only considering moving to Canada, but as soon as the new president got elected, they finally make up their mind and move to Canada. And it totally makes sense. Politics in the US can be very polarizing, causing significant swings in policies and living and working conditions for different layers of society. And
yeah, she is so correct. Like, holy cow, she's hit the nail on the head. I don't know if it's this intense in Canada. I'm sure people get passionate about the politics in Canada, but in the United States, like, with our two-party system, it is basically like a war zone. Like, it's changed over the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. Like, people are a lot more passionate about the politics and will, like, not want to work certain places, not even won't want to speak to certain people, even, based on that stuff. So I think as time has gone on, people have just gotten, a lot more passionate about this, and it's factored into their decision-making about leaving the United States even. That's passionate right there.
These changes are by far the most popular reasons to decide to move to Canada. But wait, there is more.
Job opportunities. Interesting. Job opportunities. This isn't necessarily one that I would have assumed would be a reason to move to Canada for Americans. Job opportunities? Well, I guess if we're talking about today, like very, very recently, it does seem to be getting harder to get a job. Maybe this is true, actually.
This one is an odd one because it is common for many Canadians to move to the US for the exact same reason.
Right.
For Americans, though, it may seem as a land of opportunity here in Canada. See, Canada has a thriving economy with an intense roster of job openings at any given moment due to labor shortages.
I don't actually know currently, like, what Canada's unemployment rates versus American unemployment rates, or how many more jobs are available in Canada. Canada is just a smaller population. It's a smaller economy as well. So for that reason, I kind of assumed, well, just based on the number of people and the number of businesses, there must be more jobs in the United States. Is that not true?
Industries such as technology, agriculture, food and beverage manufacturing, and healthcare are experiencing some of the biggest shortage, introducing opportunities for Americans that they may not have in the US.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know anything about that. Okay.
Additionally, work and life balance in Canada is positively different from the American approach for some. Canadian relaxed lifestyle with plenty of vacation days, paid maternity and sick leaves, laws protecting workers' rights, all that attracts Americans who are looking for a more slow-paced, socially secure and calm life. But
that is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. The work-life balance in Canada is much, much, much better. Like, from the things that I've heard anyway, I think Canadians get more time off, more sick days, vacation days. Like us Americans, we have a limited number of days that we're allowed to be sick. If you're sick too much, Too bad. Get to work. Infect everyone else. It doesn't matter. We have to make profits here in America. That's basically how it is. The maternity leave in Canada is ridiculous, right? Here in America, you can have maternity leave for 3 months if you're lucky, with probably reduced pay and having to use vacation. In Canada, it's like, it can be like up to a year, right? That blows my mind. There's actually, so the benefits in Canada are better as far as job and job opportunity. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, next we have quality of life. Quality of life, that's a very good reason to move anywhere if the quality of life is better. So, is the quality of life better in Canada than the United States? The benefits are better. The healthcare is better. Is there anything else I'm missing? Maybe.
Canada consistently ranks as one of the best places to live in the world, with its universal healthcare system, affordable education, multiple social benefits, friendly environmental policies, and stunning natural landscapes. Many Americans choose to move to Canada for a better quality of life for themselves and their families.
True. I was gonna say the quality of life is probably pretty similar. Like, in reality, like, if we're getting honest, if you're living in Canada or the United States, you're very privileged. Like, that's a great life. You could have been born in some random, like, mud pit in the middle of nowhere, like making shingles out of mud for 3 cents an hour to try to buy a fish to eat for dinner and not starve to death. You know what I mean? Like, you could be in a third world country or something, but instead, if you're in Canada or the US, like, you're probably doing pretty good. There's people struggling out there in the United States, and I'm sure in Canada there's people in pain struggling. But I just mean in general. But so I think we're splitting hairs here a little bit for quality of life. But if we're gonna split hairs, which we can do, it might be a little more than a little, more than a little better in Canada once we bring up the healthcare, the education, the benefits, the social policies. Yeah, I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to see it.
Biggest challenges of the US is that there is a wide gap between the poor and the rich. There is no middle class, while Canada is technically the country of middle class. It certainly has some hint of socialism all over it, and it strives to provide a stable and comfortable life for everyone.
Really? I didn't know about that either. That's fascinating. She is so... These are very good points. I think these are so spot on correct. Here in America, the middle class is like dying. It's like becoming lower, which the middle class should be like the biggest by far, and comfortable. Whereas now it's like, God, in America, I don't know the stats, but the top 1% own like 95% of the wealth or something insane like that. And the bottom, I don't know, 20% of Americans have like, who knows how much of the wealth, a very small amount, and it's a huge disparity. And there's less and less that are in the middle, which used to be kind of the bread and butter of American society, the middle class. At least most of us are middle class. But now it feels like if you're middle class, it's getting harder and harder to survive and be comfortable. Like, things are changing, man. So it's actually real nice to hear in Canada that there still is like a content, happy, sustainable middle class, at least according to this video. That is very good.
Quality of life may mean different things to different people, but Canada has a lot to offer here. Average life expectancy for Canadians is on average 5 years longer. Canadians are one of the healthiest nations in the world, mainly thanks to having access to publicly funded healthcare. So they don't...
Hard to argue with that. Canadians literally live longer, have better healthcare. Yeah, I mean, can you put a price on life, on extending life? Well, yes, in America you can, and because it's called your insurance premium. you can put a price on it. but, but seriously, Canadians, like, that's something you can't even quantify, like living longer and happier. That's really important. Some would say the most important thing, honestly.
Don't have to worry about getting into debt after their next hospital visit. Food culture in Canada
Yeah.
is different as well. Generally, it's considered healthier than down south. And on top of that, there are multiple social benefits that support Canadians.
I mean, she skipped across food pretty quickly. Like the food here, it's good. It's tasty, but the like weird stuff and preservatives and corn syrup or whatever that I have learned about that we put in our food that we don't even know about. Most of this stuff is like banned in Europe, I'm pretty sure. Yet us Americans are eating it. Microplastics or whatever in the water. I don't know. Just random stuff I've heard. Who knows?
Throughout their life.
Okay, education. Oh, yes, this definitely deserves to be on the list. Man, there's a lot of good reasons for Americans to move to Canada. I don't know if you have to be a Canadian citizen to get all these benefits, though. That's kind of important, right? Like, are these Americans, like, who are immigrating to Canada becoming citizens? Is that, like, wonder what you have to do. Like, do you have to have a family member? Or maybe it's like a work thing? I don't know. Because I'm just thinking, can anyone move to Canada and take part in the healthcare and the education and the social benefits and the work benefits? Can anyone just do that? Like, you probably have to be a Canadian citizen. And that's a whole process, I imagine. Anyway, just thinking about this, like, practically, you know?
Canada is home to some of the best universities in the world, but not quite comparable to the world's renowned American schools. Nevertheless, many Americans choose Canada to pursue higher education.
Yeah. It doesn't matter that we have some of the best universities in the world. It doesn't matter because they cost like $200,000 a semester. Maybe not that much, but man, university and college in the United States is insane how much it costs. It's crazy. You could definitely do, I mean, the cheapest would be like 12,000 a semester, or a year. Yeah, probably like 12,000 a year in some places, but 50,000 a semester, like I've heard, like you have to take out loans and it's madness. And whereas in Canada, I think the education is a lot more affordable, which is pretty important for not screwing yourself later in life like a lot of Americans have, taking out these massive loans just to get an education.
One big reason is tuition fees. Canadian education is significantly more affordable than in the US. Looking at national tuition fee averages, the extreme example to give is that you can complete an entire undergraduate degree in Canada for the same price of 1 year of the same degree in the US.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking about. She has a little chart. Tuition per year in the United States. This is a graduate degree. What about undergraduate? Yeah, 25,000 a year. Yeah, I was pretty close actually, like 12,000 a semester. There's some places in America, like community colleges, you can get it. You can get your education for cheap if you go to these really cheap community colleges. You can make it happen. But one year in America is like the whole cost of an entire Canadian college education, university education. There you go.
Canadian universities are also more likely to issue bursaries and scholarships to help students offset the cost of education. This is one of the main reasons why Canadian population is considered more educated. 67% of Canadian population have bachelor's degree or higher versus 53% in the US.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that just makes for a better society as well. It affects a lot of things that your society and your population can get that education. 67% of Canadians, university education or college degree. Wow. 14% more. That's a lot. That is a significant amount more than Americans. I didn't know it was that much. But that just enriches the Canadian society as well, having more educated people. Wow, wow, wow. You know what? I think I'm going to have to stop it here for now. This is going on for quite a while because this is really interesting and it's making me think a lot of things. And if nothing else, it's good for, I think, Americans like myself to see this kind of thing and be a little self-reflective and be like, what's going on here? And it's also just a lot of good points. A lot of good points. I am definitely starting to understand why so many Americans actually do it, actually move to Canada. A lot say they are, and a pretty decent amount actually do it. Who knows? After this year, we're having another election coming up, so this is all just gonna Canada's gonna get another new inflow of Americans, huh? But anyway, if you've enjoyed this so far, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on why Americans should move to Canada, or maybe you don't want us to move to Canada. Either way, that'd be fun to hear about. And if you're interested in part 2 of this, where I'll finish this video up, or just more videos in general of me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.